Hello folks, let's learn about the pod CPU-hog fault. The pod CPU-hog fault is a Kubernetes chaos fault which injects heavy CPU usage into a Kubernetes pod. So it can be used for validating scenarios such as observing an application under heavy CPU load or identifying potential bottlenecks due to heavy CPU load. Then it can also be used for validating your auto scaling logic by checking your horizontal pod autoscalers under heavy CPU load. Then it can be used for performance benchmarking under heavy CPU usage and so on. So with that, let us try to take a look at the tunables of this fault. The first set of tunables being the target application, where we provide which pods should be targeted in our cluster. So here we have provided an app namespace being the boutique, a type of resource that we are targeting, that is the deployment. And lastly, the app labels, which is shared between both the deployments and the corresponding pods. Next, we have the set of tunables that are applicable for this fault. First one being the total chaos duration, that is the duration through which we should inject the chaos. Then the CPU cores, that is how many number of CPU cores for that particular pod should be targeted. Then the CPU load, that is per core, how much load should be exerted. So here has specified 100% load across one CPU. If you wish to do so, you can also increase these values. Then we have some other details such as pods affected percentage, that is what percentage of faults should be affected. So an empty value refers to a default of one pod. So we'll be targeting one pod as part of this fault right now. Then we have some other details such as the lib image, which helps in determining which image should be used for injecting the chaos. Then the stress image, from where we are using a utility called stressng for injecting this chaos. And then the container runtime, that is your container runtime services using which container runtime, and so on. The socket path for that container runtime and so on. So yeah, with these set of parameters, we also have a probe defined. So a probe, as you know, is useful for assessing the validation of a chaos fault. So here we can see that we have only one probe, that is the card service health. So this helps in determining the health of the target pod, that whether it is available throughout the chaos duration or not. So here it is just checking endpoint, HTTP endpoint, and determining whether it is available or not throughout the chaos. All right, so with that in place, let us try to actually run this experiment and try to see if we can observe any type of chaos or not. As I've run this chaos here, I'll go to my terminal now. And if I list all the pods that are available right now, we can see that we have a card service pod here, which is in fact our target pod. So what I'll do is I'll try to take a look at the resource consumption of this fault. So we can see that right now the resource consumption is quite low. We are using only 22 millicores of CPU and 50 memory in bytes. So what I'll do is we'll just try to watch this metrics. So we can still see that the usage is quite low. If we return here, we can see that we have just started the execution of the chaos. So now we can see that the helper pod is finally in the running state. So if we right now go back to our terminal, we should be able to see the increase in the resources at any minute. So yeah, now we can see that the CPU consumption of the pod has drastically increased to 125 milli CPU cores. So now we'll wait through the chaos duration of 60 seconds. All right, now we can see that the chaos has come to an end, and slowly our CPU consumption is also returning back to the normal. So let us wait for the fault to finish executing. All right, so our fault has now stopped executing. We can see that the probes have passed. So if we just expand this probe, it says that the endpoint that we have given to observe our pod's endpoint has actually been able to, it was correctly determined as success. And if we go to the logs, we can see the various logs that were generated during the execution of the fault. So it basically says all the pods that were selected for the chaos, as well as the status of the helper pod during the execution, and then the success of the probe's execution, and so on. With that, if we go back to our terminal, we can see that the CPU usage has now returned back to a normal condition. So yeah, with that, we are concluding the fault. Thank you.